What happens when people come into the EntreMD Business School? I lean all the way into that. They can launch a business, they can grow a business, they can scale a business, they can build a team that ultimately can run the business without them, setting themselves up to be able to exit their businesses if they want. And because they have their time back, they can focus on their health, they can focus on their marriages, they can focus on their children, they can focus on hobbies, they can do all of these things. Today, I'm going to take you behind the scenes of my business and share with you some really powerful lessons that we learned. So recently, I hosted EntreMD Live 2025, which was our 7th one, right? The first one was in 2019. And when I did that first event, there was no EntreMD podcast. We hadn't written any books. There was no EntreMD Business School. In fact, I had not even had any group programs up until that event. I was doing one-on-one coaching at the time. And over 7 events, we now have something that's, very different. We have the top 1% podcast. We have 5 best-selling books. We have the EntreMD Business School, which is about to turn 5 years old, in a little bit. And we have the Profitable Private Practice Movement. And we have so many things. We launched the National Private Practice Physician Day. So many things have happened. And so, this event was our best one. We had, doctors flying from all over the country. We had doctors flying from the Bahamas. We had 4 doctors come from the Bahamas. It was just so magical. And I wanted to take you behind the scenes because, as always with an event, I take a moment to debrief. And, I wrote out, 25 things, that happened at the event that I was really grateful for. But today, what I want to share with you is 7 business and life lessons that I learned from hosting EntreMD Live. And while you may not be looking to do an event, these are really business lessons and life lessons that would matter irrespective of the type of business you're running and the projects that you have. So I really want you to lean into this as I pull the curtain back a little. So let me give you 7 lessons, okay? The very first lesson is this. The very first lesson I learned is that people can change dramatically and irreparably in 6 hours. It can be transformed in 6 hours. So I remember now this event was 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., even though many people didn't leave till 6 p.m. They were networking and doing all of that, including the introverts. But it was amazing to see people come in one way. And from the stage, I could see light bulbs go off. I can see in conversation, I could see light bulbs go off and all of this. And it was just amazing to see. And I'll tell you why this is a very powerful lesson in a second. And so, what people need is an environment where they're challenged, where the status quo is challenged, where they have pictures of a preferred future put in front of them. They have people who are that preferred future in the room with them. And you'll find that we're really like Play-Doh. We can start off one way and we can become a different way. And so there is this thing that's ingrained in us in a way. We're physicians. I am the way I am. And if there's something I can't do, I'm never going to be able to do it. And if there's a way I don't think, or if there's a life I don't have, I can't have it. I can't think that way and all of those things. And nothing could be further from the truth. We are like Play-Doh. We're literally like Play-Doh. And so I had a doctor walk up to me. And he said to me, Dr. Una, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for opening my eyes to possibilities that I didn't even know existed. He said, I had a practice before. I had to shut it down. I went back to work because I had bills to pay and all of that stuff. And I've been toying with the idea of restarting my practice. And now I know, oh my goodness, I can start it. I can thrive at it. And I'd had this whole mindset of I'm going to stay and I'm going to hustle and grind. And even if I have to give up nights and weekends and all of those things, it'll be worth it in the end. The sacrificial way we do things. And of course, he understands he has to work hard. I understand that he has to work hard, but oh my goodness, he can do that and have a dream life, right? Like he can do it in a way where he has a dream life. And it's like, I just realized I don't have to give up my life to do this. I can still have a life and all of that, all in 6 hours. And so I could see that go I could tell you story after story of the doctors that I talked with and the transformation that they experienced in that 6-hour period. And so what this means, and with each lesson, I'm going to tell you what that means, what that meant for me, what it could mean for you. And for me, what it meant is we can change so radically in such a short period of time. So my job is to constantly reject the status quo and constantly reject that the way I am, that's all there is. And to constantly put myself in rooms that facilitate that transformation. Okay. So I would love for you to walk away from this episode thinking, I can change. Like in a day, I can change. In a day, I can change. So the things I've accepted as well, I guess that's just the way it is. Now my job is to reject those things. Now your job is to reject those things and constantly ask yourself, what is the room that will facilitate my radical transformation? What is the room that will put me in a position where every 6-hour block, I'm different, right? So that's the first lesson that I learned. The second lesson I learned is that a rockstar team is the secret, right? Is the secret to massive impact and time freedom. Okay. Now, so I want to give a big shout out to a number of people because this EntreMD Live, now usually when I do EntreMD Live, I'm speaking for most of the 6 hours. And I mean, I've done 3-day events where I spoke with the entire time. So it's not a problem for me. But this time it was very fascinating because we used a team approach. I had Namdi Chineme, we've had him on the podcast. And if you missed his episode on AI and all of that stuff, you want to catch that. But he was he was a guest speaker and he did a session on AI, how to leverage AI to build a $250,000 team for $20, right? And so he did that session. He also did a session on how to, grow and scale your private practice leveraging data, right? And so I had him do some sessions. I had Dr. Catherine Toomer. She did a session for the DPC docs, the cash-based clinic, like how to master the cash-pay model, which again is something that she's done. It's her bread and butter as far as cash-based practices go. And then Dr. Foley, who is a urogynecologist, who is a true entrepreneur. He hosted a session with the entrepreneurs. It was so amazing. Then Makita, who has done millions of dollars in sales, had hosted the session for the coaches, showing them how to sell, right? And so all of these things were happening. Now, guess what that meant for me? And then we had Dr. Beckford. Dr. Beckford hosted the success panel, the case studies where we looked at physician entrepreneurs and the results they've created. I've been in the EntreMD Business School and all of that. And so for the first time, we had an event where it was 6 hours. It was high level. It was our best one yet. And I spoke for 2 hours, right? And you may be listening to this and you're a private practice owner, right? What does that mean for you? If you leverage your team properly, the things that take you 10 hours, could they take you 5 hours? Could they take you 6 hours? Could they take you 4 hours if you leverage your team, right? And so they did such a phenomenal job. And I was walking around and looking at it and just being in awe of all the things my people were doing. And not only that, it wasn't even just in the programming, but I never saw the lobby. They set it up, they tore it down. I came in through the back and came into the green room. So I never saw the lobby, but everything was set up. The number of people who walked up to me and it's like, oh my goodness, the way we were greeted, the way we were welcomed and all of those things. It was a team of volunteers who did that. I didn't know anything about the food. I didn't know anything about how they were setting up the breakup rooms. I didn't know, I was ignorant about a ton of stuff except the stuff that I needed to do. And so I want you to think about it where we had the biggest impact and I did it in the least amount of time. Right? And what was the key to that? It was a rockstar team, right? That's what that was. And so what does that mean for me? What does that mean for you? What's the lesson here? The lesson here is that I will continue to do the work, right? I will continue to do the work, or what's my conclusion more like? I will continue to do the work of building a rockstar team. It is work to build a rockstar team, but your rockstar team is the only pathway to massive impact and freedom. Right? Okay. Amazing. Big shout out to all the volunteers and stuff like that. It was so amazing. All right. So that's lesson number 2. Lesson number 3, I have this rule that I function by and it's 80% marketing. And when I say that's more marketing and sales, but it's 80% marketing, 20% creation. Okay. And the third lesson is that rule works. The 80% marketing and 20% creation rule works. Now, let me give you a little bit of context here. As entrepreneurs, one of the things we love to do is we love to create. Entrepreneurs love to create. Oh, I have this new product, this new vertical, this new landing page, this new, all of that stuff. Guess what most entrepreneurs also do not like to do? They don't like to sell. They don't like to market and all of those things. So they fall in love with their product. They spend forever creating the product and then nobody uses it because they did not take the time to sell it. And we have this deeply engraved, deceptive thought that if our product is good, it will sell itself. And it is not true. It has never been true. It is not true. Save yourself from the deception. It is not true. A great product will still need to be sold greatly, right? If it's going to get into the hands of a lot of people, selling is required. You don't make a good product and it makes up for no selling. The same way you don't work out and it will make up for your crazy diet. Like, it doesn't work that way, right? Like, you have to do both. Okay. So for us, this was a little unique because usually for the past 6 years or so, EntreMD Live has been primarily virtual, right? Like, primarily virtual and things like that. Last year was the first year that we said, okay, since I'm going to record it, I don't want to record in my office. I use my office all the time. Let me just record it like a studio recording, right? So it's in a different space, different energy, all of those things. And then after I made that decision, I was like, wait, that would be weird being in a really large auditorium, with the great screens and all of that stuff. I was like, why don't I get a viewing audience? Okay. So it's like a hybrid of sorts, but it was primarily virtual. And there are some people who came into the room. Now, this year is the first year we're like in person only. And the reason for that decision is, for me, I do a lot of workshops. I do a lot of virtual things. And I said, EntreMD Live, if a doctor will attend it and allow it, it can change their lives forever. But there's a tendency to treat it like, oh yeah, it's one of Dr. Una's workshops or whatever. I'll get the recording, I'll get the replay. And I know, like, my goodness, if you're in the room and you get the content, you get the networking, you get all of these things, you will be different. Like, I know this, like I know my name, right? Like, I know it. And so I had to make the decision, like, do I want to help people by repositioning the way they think about EntreMD Live so they can get the most out of it? Or do I want to just continue doing what I'm doing? And so I made the decision that it was going to be in person only. And I guess as a sidebar, that's also for you. Like, there will come times in your business where you need to do things in a different way from the way you've always done it. And it requires some courage, right? Because what if it doesn't work? What if you get the people you want, blah, 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 all of those things, right? Okay. So we made this decision, and a lot of people, a good number of people assumed that I was a sales ploy. And then towards the end, I would then open up virtual tickets. And I'm like, no, like, really, it's an in-person experience because I want you to get the networking. For instance, on EntreMD Live, the average revenue of the physicians in the room, as far as business revenue, was $575,000. I want you to be in that room. I want you to experience the people in that room. I want you to hear the way they think. I want you to see the way they're living. I want you to see all of that. I want you to experience that. I want you to grow your network, all of those things. You're not going to do that virtually. And we also had a number of projects, and I knew, right? Like, I knew we had a number of projects. We had a number of, workshops that we did that were almost doing monthly. We had a book launch. We had all these things happening like in the months leading up to EntreMD Live. So I knew that I had, like, really May was the month to promote EntreMD Live, right? Which is weird for an in-person event, right? Especially since most people would travel. So anyway, but I knew, and so I knew we'd have to make up for it with even more marketing. And so we promoted, we marketed, we sold, we used different ways. We did social media, email, text, like the whole 9 yards, the follow-up, everything. And we did a ton of that. Now, does that mean we were sloppy in execution because it's 80% marketing, 20% content? No. We were excellent in execution. Now, we're not perfect in execution. We're excellent. Excellent means doing the absolute best with what you have available to you at the time. We were excellent. We left it all out there. Okay. But we spent an extraordinary amount of time promoting the event. Okay. And sometimes we do that for 3 days in a row and nobody will buy any tickets. And then we'll keep going at day 4, X number of people will buy and all of those things. And so we ended up with 75 docs in the room. 25 of them were VIP, and then, 50 of them were general admission, again, flying in from all over the country. And we actually had 4 doctors come from the Bahamas. Okay. So really nice sized room. People were able to connect and do all of those things. And we got what we wanted. Okay. So marketing. So whatever your product is, whatever your service is, whatever it is that you do, I want to invite you to start thinking this way. Okay. When you decide, oh, I want to start a new line of something. Okay. So there was a doctor who recently said, oh, I want to start a skincare line and all this stuff. Do you think it would work? And my answer is really simple. I was like, if you're willing to start a business, If you're really to treat this as a business, not something you're excited to create, which means you understand that it will be 80% marketing and 20% creation, and it could work. But if you're going to create it because you're excited to create it and the world needs it, nobody's going to buy it. Nobody's going to buy it. And I've seen so many businesses go out of businesses because the entrepreneur in charge is in resistance and does not believe they need to do the work to market. It never works. Okay. All right, so that's number 3. Number 4, the fourth lesson I learned is that you never truly know the impact of your work if you are a content creator, right? Now, this is for every entrepreneur, but I want to put the content creation part front and center. If you're a content creator, you'll never really know. And when I say content creation, I'm talking about transformational content. For instance, I don't show up on social media because I'm a content creator. I come on social media because I need to reach 100,000 physicians and I need to give them whatever it is I need to give them so that they can build profitable businesses and live life on practice medicine on their terms so that they in turn will turn the rest of the physician community right side up, right? And so I look like a content creator, but I'm not a content creator. I'm not an influencer. I'm a disruptor, right? And so I'm not confused about that. But you will never really know. Okay. So I wrote down a few things so I won't forget them because there are a number of things, people said. Many people walked up to me that like, oh my goodness, I listened to your podcast and I had the courage to start my business. Someone walked up to me. This is Dr. Christine Parker. Big shout out to you. She's in the Bahamas. And she's like, I read your book and I got the courage to write my own book, right? Someone else walked up to me and said, when I see you on social media as a physician, as a female African-American physician, showing up, dominating on social media, dominating on stage, it lets me know that I can do that. There are people there's someone else who's like, I've seen your clients, I've seen the doctors in the EntreMD business school killing it, and they're proof to me that I can kill it too. And this doctor is actually, I'm coming into the school as well because I've watched it from afar. And someone else, and so many other people are like, thank you for talking about not only building businesses that are doing well, but doing it and building our dream lives. And so because of that, as a mother, I'm able to enjoy my family relationships, have time for my family, have time for myself while doing the work of building this business and stuff like that. And these are people before then, I had never directly spoken to. These are people that I didn't necessarily know, many of them, and things like that. But look at the impact, right? There's all this impact because I have been putting content out there and serving people and doing all these things. And so I say that to say sometimes when you're creating content on social media or you're recording for YouTube or you're doing all these guest interviews, you may think it's not working. All work works. All work works. Right? And so you don't know whose life out there is being changed and you don't know how many lives they are going on to change and all of those things. And so for me, what I walked away from this with is just this concept of constantly and relentlessly doing the work that I need to do to accomplish my mission. So whether it seems like it's working or not. Now, that doesn't mean I don't optimize, I don't ask questions and all of those things, but I don't get bent out of shape because all work works. It's always working, right? So that was very powerful for me. So your content, you have no idea what it's doing. So keep doing it. Keep doing it. Okay. Number 5. This one was a lot of fun. And number 5 is giving your kids portable wealth is important. Okay. So there's this concept that I learned early on that, when you're leaving a legacy, when you're leaving an inheritance, for instance, for your kids or family members, whoever that is, you can give them the dollars, or you can give them the thing that created the dollars, or you can give them the best of both worlds and give them both. But the thing that created the dollars, that's called portable wealth. So for instance, in my case, I can give my children houses. I can give them, investment funds. I can give them all kinds of things. And I can give them the things that created those things, right? Like, so skills that can be monetized. So skills like speaking, skills like selling, skills like creating content, all of these things are things that I can give my children, understanding that it's not the fruit, it's not money, but it's the tree that produces the fruit. And so it's so important to do that. So for my daughter, my first daughter, Cheta, who is 17, I decided that this year I wanted her to master speaking, master selling, and master building collaborative relationships, right? So that's part of her business curriculum. That's what I wanted her to learn. And so one of the things we did is I had her start going live every week. She started off in the EntreMD Facebook group. And then after a number of weeks, I started having her do it on my personal page and on our YouTube channel. And you can go check any of these so you can see her interviews. You can share it with your kids, whichever, right? So she's been doing these things, right? So the origin of it is, I said, I have had some fears and, things that I consider disadvantages and things I was terrified of doing. And I'm like, it's going to be one per household. I'm going to make sure my kids don't have those fears. So I started putting her on stages when she was 9. And my thought process was, before you even realize that you should be afraid of being on a stage or public speaking. The fear of public speaking is the number one phobia of adults everywhere in the world. By the time you realize that, you already be so used to being on stage that you'd be like, who would have thunk it? Right? So that was my thought process. And so the day before EntreMD Live, so in the afternoon, right? Friday afternoon, I walk up to her. I'm like, oh, you're doing my introduction tomorrow at EntreMD Live. She's like, oh, okay. Well, so I'm not the kind of mom you say I don't want to, right? So I told her that. She's like, oh, okay. And, I didn't give her a framework. I didn't give her anything. I just said, that's what you're doing. And so when it was time to go up, we had, Makita came and kind of welcomed everybody. I had them look at a video. We had this video that played like a mini documentary or so for about 9 minutes. And then she gets up on stage. And oh my goodness, it was so powerful. It was so good. It was inspiring and it was funny and it was down to earth. And she took the crowd along and it was really good. I'm not going to spoil it any more than that. I'll let you see it. But it was so good. In that moment, I just remember sitting. I was like, my goodness, here she is on a stage talking to 75 doctors who flew in from all over the country and from outside the country. And she's just comfortable in her skin. Like, I wasn't even like that in my 30s, right? Comfortable in her skin, owning the stage and all of those things. In that moment, I just thought, man, portable wealth is important. That's a skill nobody can take away from her. She can use that and monetize it and do all kinds of things, right? And so I started thinking about it. I said, okay, what are the things that made it possible for her to do that? And one is the reps, right? She's been going live every week for 6 months. Well, for 5 months, every single week. And initially they were solo. And then after a while I flipped it, right? Because one of the things were those collaborative relationships. And so then I had her start interviewing the doctors in the EntreMD Business School. And so when I thought about it, her on stage, well, she's doing what she does, which is speaking. She's talking to people she talks to anyway, because she does these interviews every week and all of these things. And I was like, this is just magical. And so sometimes as an entrepreneur, you're like, am I stealing away, from time that I could spend with my kids and all of those things? My solution to that was to bring my kids into my business. So we're having quality time when I'm in the business and we're having quality time outside of the business. And I have an opportunity to mentor them and teach them the things that I know, right? And so, for me, that was a really powerful lesson. And, what I walked away from that with is I need to influence even more for them to put in reps. Like whatever it is that we're like, oh, we want them to be able to do this. We need to set the stage for them to be able to put in reps. Okay. Number six is a little mushy one. And that's this. Being poured into is a blessing. Being poured into is a blessing. There are a few things that happened during the events that made me say, man, I need to look into this more. And I need to be okay with receiving this and giving this more. Okay. So a number of things. I had two of my friends, they're clients. They started off as clients and were friends. Dr. Chia Ghazi of Savvy Docs and Dr. Latifah of MoneyFit MD. So big shout out to you. They're probably going to kill me that I put them on blast. But anyway. And, so they flew in from New York and California. And, I know they know like EntreMD will be high value and the execution of it will be inspiring and all of those things. I know. But I also know, I suspect that the bigger reason why they came was to support me. The bigger reason why they came was to be there for me. And, I really appreciated that, right? And they came and they got gifts for me and for my kids and for my mom, you know what I mean? And, it was just really nice to be seen. You know what I mean? I had another doctor, Dr. Amaka Namani, big shout out to her. And, she came and she got me a bag of gifts and stuff like that. And her mom had an outfit like made for me, right? Like one of these, African kaftan like things. So cute. I wore it to church the next day. And she's like, here, she got this for me and it's her mom that got it for me and stuff like that. And I was like, oh my goodness, that is so wild, And then I had Dr. Crystal Nelson. She's an amazing rock star doc. She's a psychiatrist here in Georgia. She's an alumni of the EntreMD Business School. And it's so fun, because I think at the time I'm recording this, she's on vacation in Hawaii. She's like, Dr. Una, the things you talk about, they work. Like I'm about to go away for 2 weeks and my practice is going to be running perfectly fine without me, right? And stuff like that. But she walked up to me and she said something so powerful. And she said, Dr. Una, you say this to people all the time. All the time. And I think you should hear it for you. And she says, I am so proud of you. And to put this in context, when I did my first business event, so this is pre-EntreMD, I called it Live Your Dreams, the Live Your Dreams conference. And this was before we launched EntreMD. And she came for that event, right? And it was for all entrepreneurs. I had not niched down to just physicians at this point, right? And she's like, for you to have an idea and take the idea and execute on it relentlessly until you build it into this is amazing. And I'm so proud of you. She's like, I'm sure there were challenges. I'm sure there were headaches with this, but you're doing it. And again, it was just really nice. It was really nice to be the recipient of that. And Dr. Nelson, thank you. I said thank you there. I say thank you again. And then Dr. Christine, she's one of the doctors who came from the Bahamas and she wrote a book and she gave me a signed copy of the book. It's on my nightstand and stuff like that. And, she's like, you're the inspiration. Like, and I don't mean like I'm the only reason she wrote a book or whatever, but, something about it was inspiring. And I had another friend, Dr. Mayosha. Okay, so fun fact, she's not a doctor, but she's on my email list. And she's like, I love your emails because they're like Dr. Mayosha. I just love it. But she's a tech genius. Okay. She owns a tech firm and she does government contracts and all this kind of stuff. She's like, hey, how are you doing all this stuff? I'm like, great. I'm gearing up for my event. And she says, oh, EntreMD Live is going to be amazing. I might just fly down to Georgia. I'm like, don't tempt me. That's not a temptation. I'm going to resist. And she says, no, I'm serious. I'm like, I'm on the United app right now. She bought a ticket and she came down and all of that stuff. It was just nice. It was just nice. And it just kind of made me lean into this whole concept of, we're people and we're relational beings and we need people and people need us. And the world is so much better with relationships in them. And so the commitment I walked away with after looking at that lesson was I'm going to be more intentional about pouring into people. And I'm going to allow myself be more open to receiving that. Like usually I'd brush it off or not, not make it a thing or whatever, but it's there for a reason, And so I want to challenge you the same thing. If you notice, I started with pour and then receive, right? Just start seeing people. And maybe there are people who've supported you in the past, send them a thank you card or send them a text or whatever. Somebody inspired you to do something, share that thing with them. Somebody was there when it was a dark time for you, go back and thank them. Maybe you have team members, whatever it is, And then also when somebody's trying to pour into you, don't stop them. Don't brush it off, like sit in it and receive it. It's a good thing. And we need that, right? We need that. Okay. All right. So that's the mushy one. It's what we need. And, like with the EntreMD Business School, one of the things I'm proudest of is the community that we've built. And it's a community where it's collaboration over competition. And so people can pour into each other. They can give and receive that from people who are pushing their lives forward and building their dream businesses while building their dream lives. It brings multiplication to your life. It helps you navigate storms better because you have the support. It helps you dream bigger. It gives you, sometimes it's the gas you needed to keep going. I remember when I started my private practice and I was probably a few weeks in and wondering what I had done and if this was a mistake because I didn't have any patients because I hung the shingle and thought they would come. And I remember Dr. Strovoff, he's a pediatric surgeon, in Georgia. And I remember him walking into my office. I was like, oh my goodness, wow, you started a practice. You must have a lot of guts because it is so hard to be a private practice owner these days. And like, imagine this conversation in 2010, right? And then after saying all those things, he said, well, this is the thing. When I started my private practice, I was scared spitless. I didn't think it would work and all of those things, right? And just imagine hearing that from a surgeon who's a very well-established surgeon, like at the time, right? And he's like, but hang in there. This is going to work. Just hang in there. It's scary in the beginning, but this is going to work. What he didn't know is how discouraged I was when he walked in. And today I'm like, God must have sent him. An angel must have ordered his footsteps to my office. He's an angel, like it's something, because that was the fire that I needed to keep going, right? And so your words of encouragement, don't treat those casually. They're people who need them, like pour into people and then receive it. Okay. All right. So number 7, the 7th lesson is not selling is a disservice. Not selling is a disservice, right? You know, when I was younger as an entrepreneur, it was really hard for me to, tell people of what I do and tell them to come work with me and tell them fill out this form, swipe your card here and stuff like that. But EntreMD Live was so magical and so beautiful, but I know it's a day. And I'm like, okay, what do we do to continue this momentum? What do we do to continue to implement on this? What do we do to put you in an environment where it is most likely that you'll succeed? And I know what that is. It's the EntreMD Business School. And at this point, the EntreMD Business School it's not a minimum viable product. It's not a thing we're testing. It's been around for 5 years. It has helped tons of doctors build 6-figure, 7-figure, multiple 7-figure businesses, helped a doctor get her first 7-figure month, all of these things. And the people, they're happier. They're able to navigate challenges better. And they will tell you, like, every aspect of my life is getting better. It's not just my business, like my life is getting better, my marriage is better, my relationship with my kids is better, my health is better, like all of these things. I know that, right? I am proud of myself for not letting any limiting beliefs get in the way or whatever. And I confidently and boldly was like, this is a container where you need to be. If you are a doctor who wants to build a wildly successful business and you want to build a team that can build the business so you can get your time back, and you want to live life on your terms, and you want to make the least number of mistakes, because the thing with, people say ignorance is bliss, but it's not, right? It's expensive in business, right? For almost every mistake has financial implications. And I'm like, you can save a ton of money by coming here and investing in the EntreMD Business School and staying here where, you can get, the information you need and all of those things. And if I didn't sell, I would let them go home with EntreMD Live with no support system for them to continue. Because I'm like, if you can change in 6 hours, what could happen if you're in a container for a year or 2 years or 3 years? Because the thing is this, like the EntreMD Business School is almost 5 years old, and there are people who've been in the EntreMD Business School since the beginning. But this is the deal. A number of them have gone from, I'm an employed physician. I've built my brand. I started a practice. I hit 6 figures. I hit multiple 6 figures. I hit 7 figures. I hit multiple 7 figures. They've stayed in long and they just keep going because there's still progress to be had. There's still time to buy back. There's still team to build. There's still all these things to do, right? And so I know like 6 hours is powerful, and anybody who takes even 30% of what we did and executes on that will have a brand new life in 90 days, like brand new, right? But then if you keep the level of transformation that happened at EntreMD Live and you continue that on a daily and weekly basis for months and years, then what happens? Right? I'm so proud of the doctors who said yes and who are coming to EntreMD Business School. They get to be in the first session in the EntreMD Business School with their classmates tomorrow. It's going to be so fun. I'm so proud of them. But anyway, so what does that mean for me? It is sell, figure out, right? This may be me telling you now, like figure out how to fall in love with selling. And how did I fall in love with selling? I fell in love with selling with falling in love, or rather being hyper aware of what happens when people come into my container. Like what happens when people come into the EntreMD business school? I lean all the way into that. So it's not about me. It's not about me manipulating people. It's not about me taking advantage of people. It's not about me taking people's money. It's not about any of that. It's about, my goodness, they can launch a business, they can grow a business, they can scale a business, they can build a team, they can build a team that ultimately can run the business without them. They're setting themselves up to be able to exit their businesses if they want. They have their dream life back. And because they have their time back, they can focus on their health, they can focus on their marriages, they can focus on their children, they can focus on hobbies, they can do all of these things. They will find themselves, they will become entrepreneurs. They don't just have a checklist and they built a business. No, they become entrepreneurs, which means they can launch another vertical, another business, and all this. They become confident speakers. They start attracting unusual opportunities. They don't get thrown off by challenges anymore. They can weather storms. When that container can do that, and they acquire a whole bunch of new friends and colleagues and people that will open doors for them and all of that, when I know they can do that, I'm like, please, you have to be in the EntreMD business school. Like, you have to be. This is a place where doctors who are crushing it go to win. This is where they get the world-class mentorship. This is where they get access to the EBS Commonwealth, which is a community filled with rockstar physicians. This is where they do all of that stuff. All right, so these are my 7 lessons that I learned. These are 7 lessons that will serve you really well. If you got a whole lot out of it, I want you to take a screenshot of this and share your favorite lesson and ask people to come watch the episode, okay? And that's you amplifying this, because think about it. What if 100,000 physicians knew this? What will happen in their businesses as they apply this? What will happen in their lives as they apply this, right? So take a screenshot of it, share your favorite one of the lessons, and tell people to come watch or come listen to get the rest of the lessons, okay? I am rooting for you. I want you to know this. You're a physician. I am rooting for you. And I trust that you win. And if you've been thinking about the EntreMD Business School, well, now is your time. Like, now is your time to come join us. Now is your time to say, hey, I want to do this like I mean it. I want to build a dream life. I want to build my dream business. I want to build a team. I want to increase my revenue and increase my profits. I want to be confident as an entrepreneur. I want to know how to manage my time. I want to know how to set goals and achieve them. I want to know how to be different every 90 days. I'm tired of doing this alone. I'm tired of being with people who are discouraging me. I want to be in a community of people who encourage me, who cheer me on, whose lives and businesses will be vision boards for me, who will inspire me just by being. Like, that's what I want. That's what I want. That's what you want. You come join the EntreMD Business School, okay? So where you would go to turn in your application will be entremd.com/business. And we would love, love, love to have you in the school, okay? And regardless, I'm rooting for every single one of you. I'm rooting for you listening to me. I want you to take these lessons, but I think the one I want you to take to heart the most is you can change in 6 hours. Just think about it. You can change in 6 hours, which means you can change every week. It means you can change every 90 days. Every 90 days, your change can be so obvious that not only do you know, but the people in your world are like, what is going on with you? I've had people tell me their spouses are like, what is happening with you? Not complaining, because they're like, I like this version of you, but what is going on? And I want that for you. Okay. So I'm rooting for you. Make sure you take the screenshot, share it on your social media, type in there the lesson you value the most, and put the link so people can come watch the rest of them. And I'll see you on the next episode of the EntreMD podcast.